Hello, it's Karen here again from Turquoise Treasures, and we're back with finishing up panel 3 on the file folder folio. So we're really getting towards the end now, which is quite exciting. So we'll go back to where we finished off in the last video. Oh, before I forget, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're enjoying this. It seems that some of you are, which is great. So yeah, welcome back, and let's get cracking. So at the end of the last video we had our two middle fold outs on panel 3, but I've still got a couple of things I want to add to these. So on this side, so this is the outer panel here, I'm going to add a pocket on each side, and I want to do a vellum pocket. On the other folio that I did, the prototype, I just used a clear piece of vellum, but as I had actually printed off a piece of vellum with one of their pattern papers, so this is the piece of vellum I've chosen. It's I haven't got a piece of that paper handy, but it's this floral one here. I printed it onto vellum just because I thought I might find a use for it. And if you remember, I made an envelope out of it for the last video and then didn't use it. So what I've actually done is cut up that envelope and repurposed the vellum from it, and then cut another one the same size. So I thought I haven't actually specifically cut it to size. I wasn't sure quite what size I wanted. I knew I wanted it roughly in the middle here, because on the prototype, and I think I'll do the same, I did have a piece of lace running down the side here, because then that will show up poking out here. So I haven't quite decided which colour lace to use. I don't want it to completely overlap the pocket, so I'll bring the pocket in a little bit to make sure there's still enough clearance to put something in, and then still have a bit of lace up the side. Now I've got a very pretty lace, but I think it's a bit wide for this situation, and also the colour's a bit blendy, so I might go for one of the other laces. So I've got that there. So I think if I measure it roughly to that, and then I know I've got enough clearance, because I think I'll probably use a narrow one anyway, but I haven't quite decided. I think this one's too similar in colour. I will be using some of this in some of the other areas, but I think on this spot, let's just see how it looks. It looks quite pretty there. And I do also have these two, so I've got this one as well, and I love this, but I'm wondering if it's a bit on the bright side, but let's just see. And it's about a similar width, isn't it? So really it's just a case of trying to work out where my pocket's going to go to make sure it's not completely covered by lace. So I can probably trim this lace down anyway. I probably will. I might use that and then put that there, so that looks really pretty, and I might just trim that off a little bit. Much as I like the scallop, it does take up a lot of room. Well, I'll get back. I'll think about that when we get to the decorating stage, which I will do in a separate video. So at the moment, I'm just thinking about positioning of my pocket and whether it's the right width. So I think that'll be fine about there. So the first thing I want to do is cut my little thumb hole. So I'm going to use, because it's vellum, this is the trick I got from Gail, which I think she got from somebody else, and these things pass around, don't they, is to put a piece of card or thicker paper under your vellum. Otherwise it just, because I have been caught out by this, it just gets caught in the punch, because it's just a bit thin. So I'm just lining that up, and then I'll put my punch in, try and get it a bit centralised. In fact, maybe I should do both at the same time, then I know they're in the same position. And I'll still use this, because even though they're now double thickness, they might still be a bit flimsy. And then I've got them both punched at the same place. So if they're not central, I know that's not central, I'm just holding it so I can just kind of move it along. So I think it looks about right. Let's get it. Okay, that seems to have worked. Yes. So now I've got my two little pockets. doesn't matter which one goes where. I'm going to use the vintage photo instead of the pink for this one because I think it'll just show up a little bit better. As it's vellum, it's almost invisible, so you want to make sure that the pocket is visible around the edges, just so you can see it's there. Okay, let's just, I'll do the same with this one. Just ink gently around it, just to give it that edge. Right, let's pop this on. She says, here we go. Good morning, glue. Monday morning and you don't want to play. Come on, wake up. Just because it's Monday doesn't mean you can have a line. Rest of us have got up and are ready to play. Now it's your turn to join in. I think it's sulking because I haven't been using it so much on this journal. Been using my tacky glue for sticking down all the papers. So it hasn't had so much to do. I think it's coming. It's showing its head above the parapet. It's not easy to be sure that you're getting the right way round. I'm hoping I have. I guess if you can't really tell, then doesn't really matter if you don't get it the right way round. There we are. They're just a little bit prettier than just a plain white vellum, like that. Okay, that cheers up that page. And let's do the same on the other side. And that. And then we've got this one. And here we are. So you can tell you're in the right place because you've got the same paper. Because it can get a bit confusing, flipping and flapping backwards and forwards between the two sides. Right. And similar sort of position. So again, I'll do the same with the lace on this side as well. So I think I've got it about in the same place. Let's have a quick check. Yeah, it's about the same. Just to allow myself room to put a bit of lace down here and still get a tag in here. Okay. So, I mean, if the tags that come with the kit are too big, we'll just make one, pop it in. It's got to fit in the size of the folio, hasn't it? Right. So the other thing I want to put on these two panels here, so the two inside panels, is a corner pocket. So I'm going to have a corner pocket there and a corner pocket there. So let's just pop this top on. So I've got some paper cut to the size, but not cut for the corner. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick it onto some cardstock and then cut the corner after that. So this is the, yeah. So I have to make sure I do one that way and one that way. I'm going to curve it rather than do a straight pocket, just because I think it's curving. It's because this is soft and lacy and it's got lots of rounded corners. I think it's quite nice to do a curvy pocket as well. Let's just make sure I get this the right way around. Alright, so I've got these two pieces of paper stuck on. Now the dimensions that I've just measured, so if I show you, along here and up here, and that's the kind of the square that, well, it's not really square, that's the piece of paper I've cut. So I've gone 4 1/4, I think it is, I've written it down and then I've lost it, yeah, 4 1/4 across and 3 7/8 up, but it's entirely personal choice. That's the size I've gone for, so I've got a decent amount to curve across. So what I'm going to do, now that I've stuck them onto my bit of cardstock, is just to start one corner and go to the other and just do a curved line. Roughly like that. And I'll cut that, and then I'll use that as my template for the other one. I'm just going in slightly inside the line so that I don't have to take the trouble to rub it off. So let's have a look, see how that looks before I go on to the other one, see if that fits all right. That fits just nicely, just inside, and then you've got somewhere to pop a little journaling card or tag or something. And I'll probably put something, a little bit of decorative edge on it as well at some point. So I'll take that one, turn it over and draw around it. And then just cut just inside that line. In fact, I think I might take my other scissors. They're a bit easier to control on curvy lines. These ones are good for straight lines, but these ones are a bit easier when I'm trying to do things like fussy cutting and things, when I'm trying to be a little bit more exact as to where I cut. And it's a bit easier with curved lines because you've got a smaller blade, so it's more controllable. I want them to be pretty much the same. Right. So I have now got that and that. So I'm just going to ink around these now. I couldn't really ink them in advance. Most things I've tried to ink in advance because I know it's not the most fun thing to watch somebody doing, but there are things that you can't do if you haven't actually cut them to size yet. So it doesn't take very long just to do these. So back to the Victorian velvet. Okay, right. Just get this bit of lace out of the way. Bring my folio back in. Okay, so I just clear my workspace a little bit here as I go. I'm trying to keep it clear, otherwise it gets a bit messy to the eye, doesn't it? If the workspace is too cluttered, it's hard to keep track of what you're doing. Right, so this one, it's a bit awkward to glue on it, so what I tend to do when I'm doing anything on this is open everything out that I can to the left of it to give myself as flat a space as I can to work on. So, now which one is this? This is this one, that's right. So, hang on, make sure I'm doing the right edge, yeah. It's just the curved edge I'm not gluing, isn't it? Don't trust myself to always put the glue in the right place without double checking, even when it's blindingly obvious. Still being a little bit difficult to get out at the moment. Once it starts flowing, it's fine. It just sometimes when it's not been used for a little while, I think it just goes a little bit thick and a bit difficult to get out, but I think it's flowing now. Right, let's put my little, so I'm gluing it, really lining it up with the paper. No, I've done it the wrong way around, hang on. Is that the right way around? Why is it looking, maybe, oh no, I think I've now that doesn't feel right now. Doesn't feel like it's, is it meant to go that way? Maybe it was meant to go that way, maybe it's the wrong way round. Okay, let's do the other one quick. That looks better. Yeah, not quite sure why I got myself confused there. So that one, this one now goes here. That's better. Okay, sorry about that. So the shorter side goes along. Yeah, it's the shorter side goes along the bottom of the panel, and the longer side goes along up the side. I got myself back to front. But it's pretty obvious when you start sticking them down which way around they're meant to go. Right. That's better. So I haven't got it going right to the end. Give myself a little bit of clearance at this side, just because of, you know, not having too much bulk along this area, just to keep it so that it's always going to be able to be, because bear in mind we're going to have to put the flips in the middle, and there's just got to make sure there's clearance. Alright, so I've got my 2 corner pockets in now. So now we move on to doing the flips. This is the top flip. So this is the flip. This is a bit of paper I don't need. And the first thing I want to do, because if you remember, on our other one, which is what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to have a little scrap pad to sort of nestle onto there, so that when it flips down. So I've already prepared it. I haven't done anything to attach it to itself. Just need to grab my stapler, my Tim Holtz tiny attacher. So all I've done with this, take a, so this piece that's not going at the top there, I've got a piece of the, this is from the kit, piece of paper, and I've just folded it over at the top so that I can nestle everything into it. And then I've just got a few pieces of scrap paper. So some bits are from the kit, because as I mentioned, there's certainly at least 2 or 3 papers from as part of the kit that I've got that basically lined and are intended for journaling on. So they're a bit more difficult to use for the decorative part, but they come in handy when you're doing this kind of thing, because you've got lots of pieces of lined paper that I can use in my little pad. So this is from the kit. This is not. It's just a bit of coffee dyed lined paper. This is a bit from the kit. This is some of my food dyed paper, which I thought, you know, the colours go nicely, and a bit of avocado dyed paper as well. So I've done them all different lengths, just so it looks a little bit. I quite like the sort of slightly waterfall look with these pads. So I just put them in some sort of order, and that piece can go there. And then I've got a piece of cardstock at the back, because I'm going to put a belly band, and that's going to slot behind the belly band. So you need something with it's a little bit more substantial. Let's just make sure these are all lined up. Okay. And then I'm just going to pop my top piece over there like that. And oh, now I've got to put my little piece of card in as well. got him. He needs to line up inside. And then I'm just going to staple it into place. I might do this with the middle first. Oh, it's already tried to release. Now I'm going to, not too, fairly high up so that it's, if you have it going too low, no, it's going to be, it's quite thick, so I'm needing to press quite hard. I think it's caught it. And one there. And then I'm going to put a bit of lace over the top to cover it so that you won't see that. There's another one. And okay. So now we have our little pad, and you can still see most of the papers. So what we need to do now, a couple of things. Because I've got the that little bit of card just a little bit lower, what I did on the other one, which I thought looked quite nice, I just covered that bottom piece with some decorative paper. So that's what the purpose of this little piece is. It's just to pop it there, and it just, you know, just decorates the bottom of this little piece of plain cardstock, and you can still write on the rest of it if you want to. So I'm just going to, I think, just use a glue stick for that. And then I want to round that bottom, those bottom edges. Oh, what am I doing? Put the glue on the wrong side, you silly woman. Dear oh dear. That wasn't very sensible. Let's hope it, I have to be careful now that it dries before I close the pad up again. Otherwise we will have it all stuck together. Okay. So I've now got, I want to put a belly band on. Obviously I've got to cover the inside and the outside before I do that. But on the other one, so the belly band has got to slot in sort of about here, because it's going to go down to that point. So I'm going to have to position that by using the pad, if you see what I mean, and then I'll glue it down. In fact, it's only just wide enough, I think, but I think it'll be okay. It'll slot down. I don't want it sliding about too much. Let's just see how it fits now. Because the other thing I did was I tied, if you remember, on the other one I had a piece of baker's twine tied around it. But I thought for this one I might use a bit of seam binding. And I think rather than having it going round from the front, I think I might just have it underneath the paper here on the inside. Just as so, I think the next thing to do is to cover the front. We'll do that next. Just trying to do things in an order that makes sense. So I could put the seam binding all the way round from the front, but I don't really know that I need to do that. I don't know. I'm just trying to think which would put the less pressure on the paper. Maybe if I put it under the paper, not this paper, the other paper, maybe tying it would actually start to pull it. I'm not sure, because it would be like that rather than just coming round from the other side. As it's nice and thin, maybe I could put it round from this side. Perhaps I'll do that. Let's just make sure I've got it in the middle. Doesn't really matter, I don't suppose. Maybe that's what I'll do. Find the middle. And it's got to be quite low, because it's got to stop the pad from flapping about. That's the idea when you close the flip. That's why I've done this. So I think I might just put it about there and just put a little bit of glue across it. This is better than, in some ways, than the baker's twine, because that's a little bit on the bulky side, but it was fine. But this is even better, I think, because it's nice and flat. So I've got this piece of paper for the front of the top flip. Now, as you can see, I haven't done anything about the shaping yet, because I thought I'd do that on camera. So I'll do my usual thing, get it lined up, and pop a paper clip on to hold it into place. Just make sure it's straight. There we are. And then turn it over. And just draw around our little curvy bit on the bottom there. And this one. Just ink that little corner. Already done the rest. Let's just check that's going to fit. Right, so now I can glue this down with my tacky glue. Okay, so that's glued down. I'm now going to do the same with the other piece, the inside piece. As you see, I've already paper clipped it on, and I'm just going to draw around it here. Right. And again this side, which, let's see how that looks. And all these silly little corners floating around the place. Just I'll check it, then I'll check that it's done, that it fits okay. So I think I've actually got this a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim it a little bit, I think, at the bottom, just a touch. It's all about, you can measure things, but when you actually go to put them in place, sometimes they're not quite right. Better to start with it being a little bit on the big side and have to trim it down than realise it doesn't really fit. It's not big enough, and that's happened a few times. I've had to recut things because I just haven't cut them right. You do go through a fair old bit of paper doing this, that's for sure. Oh, that's better. Right, so just ink around that bottom edge. Don't like this little pointy bit on this corner. Just going to round it a little bit. Okay, and again we'll glue. Okay, confession time. As soon as I turned this over and stuck it down, I realised I've messed up with the ribbon, because when you flip it up, the ribbon needs to be down here, not up here. I've got myself back to front and upside down. The pad's going to go here, so therefore it needs to be tied up around here. So luckily I managed to pull this up just in time before it had stuck down completely. But the front one, I haven't been able to. And I should have done that. I just wasn't thinking. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to rescue it. So there we go. You can, it's a good example of how not to do it and how to kind of, hopefully I can rescue what I've done by trimming this off right up the edge of the paper. Okay, trim the paper as well. I'll have to stick that back down. And trim this one off as well. You can't see it. Now we flip it up. And it's actually going to have to go here. So I'm just going to do what I was originally planning to do anyway, which is tuck it in. I was just going to put it right across, but I will just tuck a piece in either side. Where's my other piece go? Oh, here it is. So I'll just make sure that they're about the same size. Yep, that's all right then. Yeah, so this is a good lesson on what not to do. So I'm going to put it about here. And luckily I realised just in time to pull this paper up so I can still tuck it behind. And I had made the ribbon quite long, so I think I've still got plenty to do my bow. Now let's just check it's in the right place to stop it flapping. I could actually move it down a little bit. Yeah. I think it's going to be okay, but not very good when you're doing a tutorial to mess up quite that badly. So I do apologise. Maybe you spotted it and thought, nope, she's doing that wrong. When's she going to realise? So, yes. It's all about knowing where your flips are going, up and down, and I was just I had it just in my head the wrong way round. So, I'm going to have to do it, try and centralise it, but I don't want it showing, and then I shall be tying that up there. So we'll go with that. And I just need to, where I snipped it slightly on this side, you can't really see, but I do need to glue that bit down a little bit. Where I was also trying to see if I could actually get it to come up and let me remove it, but it didn't. I made a worse job of it now. Such a tiny piece, and it just doesn't want to lie flat. Okay, I'll link that up a bit, you'll never know. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. That was a typical cock-up, really, from my point of view, from my part. Okay, so I think we've just about rescued it. It was all going far too well, wasn't it, really? So what I want to do now, so I've got my piece of, my little belly band piece, and I'm going to slide that up inside, because the idea is this pad can then be removable, because it'd be hard to use while it's attached to the flip. So I'm going to try and position it, make sure it doesn't go below here. I can always trim this off a little bit at the bottom, which I may need to do if it's a bit low, if it goes a bit low, and try and fit it in here. So it's a bit tight, but I was trying to use as much, make the pad as big as possible to make it actually useful. So I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue on each end of the belly band. And then try and get it positioned. So I think that should just about work. Can slide that along a little bit if I need to. And this will come out. But I want to make sure that when this goes in, it's not going to be too high or too low. So I think that's okay. Let's pop this out. I'm going to trim a little tiny piece off the bottom of the backing cardstock just to make sure it's not too low. Not that. Off this piece. I still want it to show a little bit. And then I'm just going to round those edges. And the final thing to do will be to cover up those staples with a nice little bit of lace. So I think this colour would be lovely. Yeah, I think that would look nice. I'm just going to wrap it around the top a little bit as well. Put that there. Tidy that up at the edge. I'll just wrap it around the back too. So there we are, pretty little pad, nice bit of lace back and front. And now we can pop that in. We'll be able to pop that into the belly band, but first I want to put the do the bottom flip. I'll add the scrappy pad, a little pad, after we've put it into the folio. So now we have our bottom flip. Now I've got to make sure I get this one round the right way. So I've already pre-cut my front and back. So this is the way it goes. That's the flap up. So we're just going to glue this into place. Right, so I've glued the inside page for the bottom flip. Now I just need to add my little pocket. So I've done a piece of cardstock, cut it to size. The size I've used is 4 3/16, so that's the width. So that goes just inside the full width of the flip, and then 2 1/4 inches high. And I've cut it around this shape of the tab here, because rather than cutting it straight across and having it higher up, which you could do, but I thought it looked better to have it going right down to the bottom of the tab. So I've just got to glue my piece of decorative paper to the pocket, and then I'll glue the pocket into place. I decided at the last minute just to add a little thumb hole there. So it makes it absolutely clear that it's a pocket. Okay, so that goes into there. Right, so the next thing we need to do now is to put our flips into our folio. So let's bring that back in. If I can find it, there it is. Stood it up in the background, I couldn't see it. So we've got our panel here. And we've got the bottom flip and the top flip is here. So I'm going to put the bottom flip in first. So you're just going to line it up between the two. And I think when I was cutting the papers and getting it ready, I did realise I needed to trim these two flips just a little bit. Even though I gave you the measurements for the flips, it all depends how these get positioned. And I think I may have positioned this one just slightly in from the score line, a fraction, and it's enough just to mean that I had to then trim my flips to fit inside. So just before you do any decorating or anything else, just make sure your flips are fitting inside, and they do just fit. I just trimmed them off a little bit because there's nothing worse than getting them all decorated up and then finding they don't fit in your space. So just check that before you add anything to it. Make sure you fit, because it's all a case of how the fold outs get glued in, and you know, it's not easy to get them absolutely perfectly lined up. So I've got that going like that, so it's flat, and grab my bong folder, just checking it's still not impeding anything, so that's okay. Okay, we're good. All right, and the same with the top. With its ribbons being a bit of a nuisance now, but never mind. And I'm just going to make sure it lines up with that. So line it up with the bottom flip, and I'm going to add my glue. Line that up in between there, make sure it lines up with the top of your fold out and it's in line with everything else. Make sure it's not impeding anything, so that's good. So now we can press it down, and let's make sure. Oh, have I? Oh, hang on. No, I have lined it up incorrectly. Clearly not fully functional this morning. Let's do that again. Luckily, again, spotted it. This is I was lining it up with this edge, and it should be with that edge, with the top. Flatten that down, that's the plan. That's what you should be doing. Flatten it down, make sure it's lined up with the top, and there we go. I think we're okay. And then you're like that. Righty-ho. This is a video of how not to do everything, I think, this morning. And my brain's not functioning on a Monday morning either. Okay, so we have that there, and we can pop our little pad in. Let's hope it all fits and it all closes and behaves itself. We'll slide that in. like so. We do our little bow to stop it. I mean, it may not be necessary to do this, but it's just, I feel like it'll just keep catching otherwise every time you close it. But you could try not doing this and see if it works. If it's a, you know, if it's not a problem, you might have more trouble with the ribbons. I'm just going to trim them a little bit. Because the idea is you shouldn't need to keep undoing this because it will just slide out. That's my thought. Alright, so we close that up like that. The ribbons are going to be showing a little bit, but it's fine. They're pretty and they go really well. Right, so now what we have to do, I need to get these inks out of the way because they're stopping my flip from flipping. Get this out of the way. Right. So we need to cover this panel here. Right, now I've got my paper here somewhere. There it is. So I have a piece of paper ready to go. I've just got to make sure it still fits in the middle. So it covers up all those joins. And yep, I'm happy with that. So I'm now going to glue that into place. Alright, so that's now nicely glued in. And the final thing to do now is to put some pockets in the middle panel. So I took a bit of time trying to decide what size of pockets to do, because in the original one, in my prototype, I had a deeper one at the bottom and then two smaller ones at the top. But I've decided to go for 3 the same size, so not a bigger one at the bottom. I think it just gives us a bit more room to tuck things in. It so happened that with that kit I had lots of file folders as part of the kit, so they were already cut to shape. The pieces that I had, so I used them for the pockets just because it was easy to do. But I did like the look, so I could do, and it would be just probably a lot easier to do 3 pockets with a little thumb hole in, and I did think about doing that. But I wanted to carry on with the theme of using the file folder tab idea. So I've got my 3 pockets. I've got them all cut to size, and have I put the paper on? No, I've cut them to size, but I haven't glued the paper on. For some strange reason, I decided not to do that. So I need to do that. So I've got 3 pockets. They're all the same size. It doesn't matter which order they go in. And then I think I'm going to glue the papers on, and then I'm going to do the file folder. So what I did was I used my punch board. I've not really done this before, and I wasn't even sure which part of the punch board to use. I knew that people have said you can use that to make file tabs. So what I've had a bit of a play, as you can see, with this piece of cardstock. So I think what I'll do is I'll use this as that I've made into a file tab, as a template, rather than trying to work out how to do it for each one. But I'll show you how I did it. It's very simple to do. So I wasn't sure which part of the punch you use, but I've realised that you use this main part of the punch. If I just pop it there and punch it, and then just move it along a bit, however far big you want your tab to be, and punch it again, and you've got your little tab, and then all you have to do is cut across and you're away. But me being me, if I tried to do it like that on the envelopes, I knew I'd end up with them all being a different width and not where I want them. So I thought the simplest thing to do would be use this piece that I've been playing with and as a template. And that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, I'm going to I should have done this in advance. I just cut them ready and didn't actually glue them on. So I'm going to glue the pieces of paper on. You don't need to see me doing that. And then I'll be back and we'll make the tabs. Okay, so I've got my 3 pockets all glued down now. I forgot to give you the size. I've made mine 3¼ inches wide and 2 inches high. By the time you cut so they look very close to each other, but by the time you cut the file tabs, it actually makes them look a bit smaller. So we'll see how that looks. So what I want to do is have one here, one in the middle, and then one over on the left. That's the idea. So let's see if it works. So I think what I'll do is I'll line up my little template and draw around it. Just got to make sure. I think I've cut this a bit lower on this side, so this is the side I want to line up. And then on this one I'm going to line it up in the middle. And then on this one over to the side. Oops. And I'm just going to get my ruler, make sure my line is straight going across. Let's just move this out of the way. It's a bit distracting. Ruler, there it is. So this one was on the left, so I just want to make sure my line going across is the same on both sides. Side. And then this one is the one on the right. Like that. Where's it coming down? It's down there. And then this one is the middle one. I don't think my template wasn't cut particularly accurately, so I need to just make sure these line up on both sides of the tab. Let's just get it straight. That's about right. That side and that side. Right, let's cut these out and see how they look. I'm just going to cut just inside the pencil line. Curve them around at the top. Make sure that gets curved around a little bit. So there's one. And then I've got my middle one. At least doing it this way means you've got consistency of size of your tab and the depth of it and the width of it as well. Just round off this little corner here. So that's that one. You see it goes in the middle there. And then I'll do this one, which was on this side. Try and round it a little bit. Right. See how that one looks. Like that. Yeah, that's quite nice. I like that. Having them slightly staggered. I'm just going to ink the tops now. I had inked around it before, but obviously not the cut edges. And this one. Oh, I need to round that one, that side. And this one. Right. So that one goes at the top. Let's get these glued in. And then that would complete panel 3. Everything that way again. This top flip does get in the way a little bit, but we can manage. I wanted to finish just decorating the inside of panel 4, but I think I've run out of time really. So we'll do that at the beginning of the next video, which will be the decorating video and adding ephemera. Whether that'll be a single one or whether it'll take me 2 videos to decorate, who knows. I'll try not to, because otherwise this can drag on for too long, can't it? So I need to put that one, I think, there, so I've got a bit of clearance here. And I put that one there, and then this one here, I think. So they don't look, they're not taking up nearly so much room now, they've been trimmed. So more or less centralised. Okay, let's just get these glued in. I'll glue from the bottom. Where's it gone? There it is. And then we'll tuck in a few little bits and pieces into all of these pockets in the next video. I'm going to bring that right down just above the score line. Give myself maximum amount of space. Make sure that's all right, because I made a real boo-boo when I did my prototype, because on Shelley's video she actually puts this paper in before she adds the pockets, before she adds the flips, and she adds the flips on top and then decorates that join. So I was doing it that way, but I'd forgotten, so I hadn't put the flips in, and I was merrily putting in my pockets right at the bottom and I hadn't added the flip. So then I had to sort of cut, I had ended up with a tiny sliver of the of this edge, the bit to glue in for the flip, because I'd not left myself enough room to glue it in. So I thought, right, next time I'm going to put the flip in first, then I know it's in and secure. Because the pockets, you know, because I wanted them right at the bottom, or as low to the bottom as I could to give them each a little bit of space. It made it very difficult to get my flips in afterwards. So that was a lesson learned. So at least I've done that one a bit. I learned a few lessons from making the prototype. Obviously not enough, because I've made a few mistakes on this one as well. But hopefully I've managed to rescue them before they became disasters. Okay, that one can go there. So we've got room to tuck a few bits in there. And the other thing I also did on the prototype, which was again following Shelley's, well, the idea that Shelley has that for her pockets, was to make them a bit gusseted, you know, having the extra bits and scoring them and folding them in so you've got a little bit more room. But I didn't feel it needed it really. You know, there's plenty of room just to tuck in a few little bits and pieces. So, and I thought that made them a little bit too deep. In fact, things could sort of flop about a bit in there, so I actually decided not to do that. It took me quite a while yesterday working all this out and trying to decide how big they were going to do, how deep I wanted to do them, whether I want to do them all the same or a deeper one at the bottom. There was lots of experimenting and measuring, but I think I'm happy with the way these have turned out in the end. Right, so that's in. So I'll just quickly show you my original prototype so you can see how it compares. So we have the vellum pocket here, so it's got a tag in it and the lace down the side, so we're going to do something like that. And again on the other side, we've got our corner pockets here with the tags in, which I haven't really done much here, but they need a topper, I haven't done those yet. And then we have our flip up with our bit of baker's twine around here. So you could still use baker's twine or ribbon or anything if you that you want to. I did actually decide to move my belly band up a bit higher because this might slip down otherwise, like that, and it's a bit too low. So my belly band has gone a bit higher on this one. And I didn't use the I didn't do the file folder tab arrangement around the top flip and the bottom flip on this one, which in a way makes it a bit easier to fit things in, certainly like the little pad and the pocket at the bottom. It's a bit easier to do when you've only got a straight edge, but I decided to go with the file folder idea, the tab arrangement on the edges, just for something different. And then here are my 3 little pockets with the file fold. These tabs were already part of the ephemera, but I managed to get one. So I had 2 on this side and 1 on this side, so they're not quite the same. But as you can see, these bits, there's loads of room in here, and they do actually stand a little bit proud. And these are flopping about a bit because of the gusset arrangement. And this is the one that's a bit deeper here, and I decided it didn't need to be. So that's the difference between my 2. So this one goes up and down and in that way and in that way. And as you know, I've added an extra pocket or an extra envelope on that side as well, just to make life more difficult for myself. So here we are. Here's this one. So we have our little pad here, our pockets, and our pocket at the bottom here. All of these are going to have things in them. So I'm going to flip that one up, flip that one up. There's still a bit of room there, so yeah, it's not too bulky. Close that up. That closes now. So all I have to do now, which I will do at the beginning of the next video, is cover this panel here and cover the spines, the inside spines, and then we'll decorate. So we'll see how many more videos we need to do to get this done, but we're definitely getting there. So I hope you're enjoying it. Sorry this video has gone on a bit long. There was a lot of bits and pieces to do, and obviously a bit of a boo-boo in the middle. So please do join me again for the next one. Maybe the last one, might be another one after that, who knows. See you soon. Bye bye.